to Off the Shelf Reviews. I'm your host Gary, and of course joining me today is Ian.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about the 1987 movie Predator by director John McTiernan. And this was just a year before he went and made Die Hard. And this, of course, is one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's breakout movies.
Yeah.
Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis for Predator?
Well, the small plot of Predator is simply Arnold Schwarzenegger and his group of hardcore gung-ho mercenaries, soldiers, kind of Green Berets, are sent into the Colombian jungle to rescue a cabinet minister who has crash-landed in there. Once they get in there, they realise they've been set up by the government just to wipe out a small group of armed rebels. But then the story kind of just completely goes out the window, because we realise that Arnie and his crew are being hunted by an alien species that takes skulls for trophies.
The mythology for the Predator has been expanded so much just from this starting movie.
Yeah.
It is also a hybrid genre movie as well, because it is a typical kind of 80s action movie. At the same time, it then goes into this science fiction realm, where you have aliens, this monster, with advanced technology and some really badass weapons. And putting that one, ultimate hunter against this platoon of muscle-bound hard asses.
Son of a bitch is dug in like an Alabama tick.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh. Okay.
What I love about this film is that it is Arnie's breakthrough movie, but at the same time, he didn't want to do it on his own. He was given the script and he just read it and was like, I can't do this on my own. I need other people to back me up. And that's what I love about this film. We've got Bill Duke, and we've got Jesse the Body Ventura, we've got Sonny Landham, and each one of them, they bring their own personality to this core group of soldiers. You get this brotherhood of them. They've been working for many years. They've been to pretty much every war zone in the world, and they're rescue team. They're not assassins, as Arnie tells us. And when they just get dropped in there, they all want to get back out once the shit starts hitting the fan. But it's the suspense that it builds up, and not just from the vision of the Predator that we get glimpses of as the story goes on, but just them making their way through the jungle quietly, they're big guys, they're carrying lots of weapons and ammo, but they're still trying to be quite stealthy. They come across the rebel base, and it just literally all just kicks off from there. There's this massive, huge gun battle. Arnie in the gun battle is just so typically 80s over the top. He fires like a short burst of bullets and kills like 4 or 5 people just with one shot. But it's just so brilliantly done. And then when they leave, we get the Predator who comes in, and he's been watching them and he's interested. He's like, you guys are tough hombres.
Fresh prey.
Yeah.
And it's near the beginning when they're leaving and they see all of the skinless bodies just hanging from the tree. They're like, what the hell did this? This was my team. These were highly trained professionals. How could this have happened? And the film spends an awful lot of time just building up that tension, that paranoia, especially when Billy he's just stood there and he's just looking out of the trees, and he's like, there's something there.
What the hell is wrong with you?
There's something in those trees.
He's like the Indian shaman of the group. His nose tells him something's up, but then you're just looking at a bunch of trees. You can't see the Predator, and that obviously is the brilliance of it, because, well, before the whole mythology and future lore of the Predator was conceived, all we had was this invisible hunter. Yeah. And back then, that was pretty damn amazing. We haven't got any technology like that, and
We're getting close.
We're getting close. But to see this thing just hanging from a tree, just watching them as they walk through, especially through the thermal vision, because they've all camoed themselves up and they've taped up the shiny parts of their guns. They think they're pretty stealthy. No. You stand out like sore thumbs in the jungle.
Just that heat vision just sees them. It's all of the things that the Predator does. It's the fact that it imitates their voices. Oh. It's the fact that it's picking them off one by one. And the fact that, part of that mythology is that they also, it is there towards the end of the film where they realise that the Predator is only going to attack you if it thinks you're worthy of its time. So if you're unarmed, it will probably leave you alone.
No!
Run!
Well, see, I've seen this film many, many times, and I obviously, like I said, the lore has built up. But even if they had been unarmed, there are a few internet memes that people have made where the soldiers could have just thrown down their weapons at the end and walked off. The Predator would not have allowed them to walk off. He'd been following them from the moment they'd landed. He knew they were tough guys, even if they were unarmed. So even if they'd all thrown down their weapons, he would have probably just beaten the shit out of each one of them in hand-to-hand combat. That would have been good to see.
Yeah.
But I love the fact of once the army has been taken out, it then gets into the really sci-fi elements of it. We're just left with these 6 soldiers, and we follow them through the jungle. And then, like we said, the Predator takes them out one by one. Spoilers ahead. Once he takes out Hawkins, he just comes out the jungle invisible. One swipe with his claw, the guy's dead. And he's hanging up in a tree. And then what's amazing is 5 minutes later, Jesse the Body Ventura is killed. The biggest guy of the group carrying the biggest gun, and the Predator just. The first time it uses its plasma caster.
It's fantastic. Just the sound effect, the actual blood effect. It's horrific. It's still really good, and it is quite a shock when you see such a big guy who ain't got time to bleed take such a hit, and then that actually just proceeds. Back. One of my favourite scenes in the film where I think it's Mac picks up the gun and just starts firing into the woods, and then all the others like, what's that? And they just come running out and they just start firing into the woods as well. They don't know what they're aiming at or anything. They're just so paranoid at this point that they're just like, we're just going to shoot.
I love that. I love that bit. It's typically 80s, but at the same time that they've just he has just seen this invisible killer, and you're hoping that he's hit something as they fired into the woods. But what you don't know, obviously, is the Predator's just leapt up into a tree, and he's just probably sat on the branch just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Just wasting all that ammo. Oh, that's fine, waste all that ammo.
No man could have survived this. But it's the fact that after that moment has happened, the mentality of the group changes, and then they decide that they want to hunt what's hunting them.
Yeah.
And so they start, building traps, and they start actually going out to try and hunt it, whilst the others are trying to make an escape from the helicopter.
See, the mentality is that to them they're still hunting something that's human.
Yeah.
They know that it's using the trees. They know it's invisible, and obviously, in a way, it can see tripwires. So they do the whole Boy Scout job of making the weird traps, and then they just sit down, and they just wait. Is it coming? Is it coming?
Shit!
So you talk about all of the characters in this film, and I think that the jungle is another character in this film.
Yeah.
It kind of almost felt like a Vietnam kind of movie in places when you saw those soldiers moving through the woods, and they even reference, that this doesn't feel like any wood they've been through before. And it's the fact that John McTiernan, as a director, explores the jungle. The screen is constantly covered with trees and shrubbery and marshes and all of this terrain, which the soldiers are moving through the whole time, and it's also, you know, the predator's hunting ground.
Yeah.
And so you actually feel that kind of claustrophobic feeling of you're actually trapped in this jungle. You've got nowhere to go, you know.
Yeah.
There's constant sunlight. It's blistering hot. That all of this just adds to that paranoia and insecurity, even though they're fully armed, is the fact that they are almost powerless against this thing.
Yeah. It's just using the jungle against them. They could stand back to back and watch every single corner, and the thing would probably just drop right in the middle of them, right from above. But the brilliance of this film is that you only get glimpses of the creature. You know, there's this few little bits you see through the thermal vision that builds up the tension. You see its eyes after it's killed Blaine. You know, when it's injured, it has its little moment where it's healing itself. You don't actually get a full frontal view of it until an hour and a half into the movie.
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely brilliant, because you've built up all of these brilliant characters, Arnie at the lead, and then you've picked them off one by one and killed them all. And then even Arnie, who at this point he'd already done Conan, both Conan movies, The Terminator, Commando. He was halfway to being his big action star, but he like you said, he's completely powerless in this movie. You know, towards the end, he's getting his ass handed to him by this big creature. And you're like, come on, Arnie, fight back, Arnie!
Just lifted up off the air. It's amazing that he actually found someone that was bigger than Arnie in terms of height.
Yeah, Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator, he brought a life to this creature. He'd already brought Harry and the Hendersons to life by playing Bigfoot, and the emotion you could see from his face. But in Predator, he was fully masked, so you just had his mannerisms from his body
movements,
yeah,
the way he clung to the trees, the way he moved through the woods.
Yeah, the way he kind of just the views that he gave around. He was using his mask to zoom in on little sections, and he was looking for the heat vision of his enemies. But then he just kind of just stands there, and then when you have the big reveal later, it's just
ugly motherfucker.
It is fantastic. The creature design, was it
Stan
Winston yet again, just made a phenomenal design with the Predator.
Yeah.
It kind of resembles a crab in terms of the facial design, but it's still really frightening and so iconic when you see it.
It's the only creature I know to have mandibles.
Yeah.
And mix that with the dreadlock hair and the freckled patterns across its skin. You know, just its whole body armor is tribal in a way. But this is the crazy thing. I mean, now we can talk about it and we can go into the whole lore and history of the Predator. But yeah, imagine back then, 1987, the film had just come out. Arnie's face is on it. You're like, oh yeah, I'm going to go see Arnie kick the shit out of something. No, you're going to see this thing kick the shit out of Arnie and sit there like, what the fuck is that? It's like 7 foot tall.
Bad idea.
So I think my favourite scene of the film is perhaps the scene where they're all flying in on the helicopter.
Get that stinking shit out of my face.
Bunch of slap-jawed faggots around here. This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
Yeah, strap this on your sore ass, Blaine.
See, my favourite scene has to be towards the end. It's just that fight sequence. He beats the shit out of Arnie. He chases him through the jungle. And I can't think of another Arnie film where I've actually really felt scared for him that he was going to die. You know, even in End of Days, he managed to kill the devil. But in this movie, he's beating the Predator is just beating the shit out of him. And it's the way it changes to the Predator's view, and you could hear Arnie breathing, but it sounds like a child.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's just chasing a small child through the jungle, and you just seen Arnie get beaten up.
But I also really like that moment where Arnie's he's covered himself in mud and he's built all these traps. It's in the dead of night and he's standing there with the torch burning fire, and he just gives out that death cry to the predator like, come and get me, come and get me.
See, I also love that little sequence where Arnie's on the tree and he's got the fire blazing and he's waiting for the predator to turn up, and it appears behind him.
Yeah.
You see the invisible silhouette come behind Arnie, and you hear the clicking noise that he does, and then Arnie's eyes are just like, it's behind me, and it's that closeness, how close they are, but they can't see each other. I love this film. Fucking love this film.
I highly recommend Predator. I do also recommend the sequels as well, but Predator, the original, it's a masterpiece. It is one of my favourite movies of all time. It is The Predator. Now, this film isn't without its flaws, however. Most films aren't.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that does detract from the repeated viewings of this film is perhaps the fact that Arnie he is an icon. There's no mistaking that. But his acting ability is never always the best at the best of times. It's still Arnie. And so when you're trying to take this film more seriously than perhaps Commando, when Arnie's, throwing knives and impaling people on the walls and saying,
Stick around.
you kind of like, and then he goes up to the door and he's like, kicks the door and he's like,
Knock, knock.
It just doesn't quite work now. It worked in the 80s, but watching the movie now, those few little bits to take me out of the movie, because they kind of drop those one-liners as the film goes on. When the film actually has the tension building up, it does drop those liners.
Yeah.
Other than Arnie screaming,
Get to the chopper!
Give me the weapon! See, but I think that balances it. Like it said, we'd already followed him in Conan and Terminator and Commando. We knew his acting wasn't brilliant. He is just this muscle-bound wall on screen, and most of the time people can't get past him. If you've never seen Predator, I'd highly recommend it. I recommend the other ones, but you have to go to where it all started, and that is deep in Arnie territory. It might open the door to other silly Arnie movies. One thing I do want to say though is he doesn't say I'll be back in this.
No,
which actually sets it
because
aside.
he never came back to the Predator franchise.
Should have come back for the second one, but then that opened the door for Danny Glover, and it's just an amazing film.
Aye. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.